Hey everyone, it's Pat from Pat Dev Music. Now if you've ever got anything that you're struggling with the guitar, or you're just starting out, or you want to know more about theory or technique, or something's happening with you, with your playing, with your instrument, you're not sure, just leave a comment below and I take those comments and turn them into videos. Now someone has asked me about string muting. Now I thought I'd show you two different examples about how I would sort of fix this if you've got unwanted sort of strings ringing out. Now when you've got a lot of distortion going on, you always want to mute the strings. There's always going to be a lot of noise. So I'm not even playing and there's still noise. So you want to hear, if you want to play a power chord, you want to be able to hit that power chord as hard as you can without hitting the other strings. If I was to hit the other strings, this is what it would sound like. Alright, it's not so bad in that example because the strings were adding to it, but what if the strings weren't adding to it? Nasty, just messy. You want a chunky power chord. So, how you mute if you were doing particular power chords, and then I'll show you a clean section of muting very, very soon. So first let's check out if you were using distortion. What you would do is, if you're just doing power chords, use your first finger and instead of standing it nice and straight all the way up high so you can then hear the 6th string and the 5th string, lie your first finger down a little bit so it's muting that 5th string. Okay? Then if you were to add your 3rd finger to make a power chord like this, what you want to do is the same thing. Lie your 3rd finger down just a little bit so it's not standing perfectly up straight, it's lying down just a little bit so that the string below, instead of sounding open, it actually sounds like this. So that when you do that with both fingers, you can hit as loud and as hard as you want, and you're only going to hear those 2 strings. Same thing if you drop down a string. 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 So you can play all of those different power chords and only hear those strings. Now another thing you can do is when you've got distortion, it's going to amplify everything. So mute with this hand. So after you've played a chord, if you want, you can then rest on the other unwanted strings. Now, massive hero of mine, Joe Satriani, what he would do is, in order to make sure his melodies would ring out and only the strings that he wanted would play, what he would actually do is, with this hand, pretty crazy, but with this hand, his fingers would actually walk over the strings like that, so that every string that he wasn't playing, he had a string resting on the top of, so that he was always muting and he could only hear the one string that he wanted you to hear at that time. Pretty crazy. Certainly don't need to go to that extreme, but there's lots of different ways to mute. Let's check on like a clean preset and I'll show you if you were doing some clean chording. Okay, so I've changed to a clean tone and it sounds really pretty with some open strings ringing out. So if you're doing some open chording or just any chording and you want only some strings to ring out, it's exactly the same thing. So what you want to do is, each one of your fingers that's holding down a different string, you want to just think of it as a way that you can anchor. So if you want all of the strings to ring out, then you want your fingers to stand up nice and tall. But if you don't want, let's say, those bottom strings, then you just lean your fingers down. So you're only going to hear those strings that you're holding down, or those strings that you're fretting. And this whole idea of muting different strings and hearing different strings ringing out, this is almost an intermediate technique, because you're really starting to fine tune your ability, and you're thinking about exactly what you want to hear and what you want to portray to the outside world. So the fact that you're just thinking about muting means that you're really stepping up from a beginner to an intermediate to an advanced player. And really, this sort of fine tuning, this is what really takes your playing to the next level. Rather than hearing all the strings, it might just be nice just to hear closed voicings rather than just a big wash. Certainly adds a lot of tension. And if you can mute well, then you can strum a lot harder and bring the guitar to life. So well done for making it to the end of the video. If you want to check out any music theory videos, check out this playlist. If you want to check out any other sort of modern sort of videos and riff ideas and songwriting, check out this playlist. And if you haven't already and you want to follow me, head on to my Instagram page. But otherwise, I will see you very, very soon. Bye.